Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm making a series of videos on all the topics of air regulations, and especially students and anyone who is giving Dgca examination to obtain a commercial pilot license. It will be helpful for you. And all the topics will be covered as I am uploading the videos almost on the daily basis. So you can go and watch it here in my channel. And today's topic is communication. So let's get started. So communication in aviation is a little different from what we use in the daily basis in a normal language. So it makes use of certain keywords as well as abbreviations which has to be used in the aviation communication procedures. So we'll be going through it one by one. First one is the Q code group. QDL, QDM, so these are the lists. First is QDL. If you're requesting a QDL, that means you're requesting a series of bearings. QDM is means that a magnetic bearing from you, that means the aircraft, towards the station. And QDR is quite the opposite, the magnetic bearing only from the station towards the aircraft. This was the magnetic bearing, but if you talk about the true bearing, then here QTE and QUJ, it means the same. That true QTE means the true bearing from the station towards you, and QUJ is the true bearing from the aircraft towards the station. Okay. Then QFE. What is QFE? QFE is a altimeter pressure setting which indicates the height above a reference elevation being used. Right. Next is QFU. So QFU will be telling the magnetic direction of the runway to be used. Next, QGH. So QGH is telling you which procedure or facility has to be used while you are landing. That is QGH. QNE is again a pressure setting in the standard atmosphere. Then we have QNH. So QNH is again the altimeter pressure setting only, but it will be telling you if you are on the aerodrome, then it will be telling you the elevation of that aerodrome from the mean sea level. So actually it tells you your altitude from the mean sea level to the aircraft. Moving on to the categories of messages. First is distress message, which may be a distress call or any distress traffic, and it is called out as Mayday. Bravo is urgency message, which may be pan or security. It's not security, it's security. It's actually a French word which is which helps to which denotes the urgency over the sea, any maritime urgency. In that case, you'll be calling out the security call. Okay. Next is communication relating to the direction finding and flight safety messages, meteorological messages, flight regularity messages, all these things. Okay. Then next, general operating procedures. Okay. So just this is important. So you have to be aware that if whenever you are giving a call or receiving a call, you will find that there are some numbers which may be altitude or time, Mach number, frequency, etc. All these will, maybe they might be called as 3000, 2000, or they might be called 2000. So you have to keep in mind that what numbers are to be called by single digit and what numbers can be called as it is, like hundreds and thousands. So the quantities that you don't have to split are altitude, cloud height, visibility, and RVR. Keep in mind these four things: altitude, cloud height, visibility, and RVR. You don't have to split, or you can say, for example, you can call it as 2000, 3000. Okay, and rest others you have to split in single digits and call it out. So let's see what I am talking about. It will be more clear. So first is aircraft call signs. So AI denotes Air India, so you will be calling Air India 435. 6E denotes indigo, I fly we call it, that is the call sign, so it will be I fly 146. Then flight level. So flight level, in this case, if it is 200, like a whole number 200, 100, then you can call it as 200, flight level 200, flight level 100. Or if it is like this 70 and 180, then you have to call it flight level 70, flight level 180. You cannot say it flight level 70 or flight level 180. And in this also, flight level 200, you can call it as flight level 200, that is also acceptable. Next comes the heading. Heading also you have to split 150, 080, 300. Okay. And wind direction and speed. So first, it is also denoted like this. So this one will be the direction from which the wind is coming, and this will tell you how many knots. So this will be called as 10080 winds. Okay. And then we have the runway designator. You also have to split this 19er. Remember, in aviation you don't call 9 as 9, you call it as 9er. Okay, so this will be 19er. Also, if the runway is saying 09, then again you have to say it 09er, right? Mach number is again 0 decimal 2, and altimeter setting will be 1027, frequency 121.9er. Don't say megahertz, kilohertz, nothing. You don't have to say anything. You just have to tell this quantity. And time will be said as 0920. Understood? Now I have to tell you about certain phrases and their meanings which are very commonly used in the aviation communication. So acknowledge, this means that let me know that you have received and you understood the message. Affirm is yes. You don't call it affirm, you call it affirm. Okay. And approved means permission for proposed action granted. Break means I hereby indicate the separation between portions of the message, to be used where there is no clear distinction between the text and other portion of the message. Break. I hereby indicate the separation between messages transmitted to different aircraft in a very busy environment. Cancel, annul the previously transmitted clearance, changing to, when transferring to a pilot control channel. So if you are changing from one frequency to the other, you will be saying changing to. Okay. Check, examine a system or procedure. Clear, authorized to proceed under the condition specified. Cleared for immediate takeoff, taxi immediately to runway and commence takeoff without stop. Climb means climb to a flight level, altitude or height, whatever has been prescribed. Then confirm, I request verification of clearance, instructions, action, information. Contact means establish communication with. It can be done with any ATS. So for example, if you are in contact with the tower and he asks you to contact the approach, then he'll be saying that you now contact approach. That means you have to establish communication with them. Correct, true, accurate. Correction, error has been made in this transmission, the correct version is. So if you have made any mistake in a previous transmission, then you have to say correction and then start your new call. Okay. Correction, I say again, if the correction can best be made by repeating the entire message, the operator shall use the phrase correction, I say again, before transmitting the message a second time. Descend, descend to a flight level, altitude or height over any place. Okay. And then disregard, that means ignore. Hold short means stop before reaching a specified location. They are usually said that hold short runway 27. That means you don't have to enter runway 27, you have to hold short it. Okay. Then you have, I'm sorry if it is not focusing. Yeah. How do you read? That means what is my readability? You will be asking before establishing communication, or either you might, if there is any failure in communication or the communication has dropped in between, in that case you can ask them whether you are able to hear them properly. So you'll be asking for how do you read. And then I say again is I repeat for clarity or emphasize. Then landed. After landing, aircraft landed, location time you have to say. Maintain, continue in accordance with the conditions specified, or in its literal sense, maintain the VFR. Monitor, listen out on frequency, whatever. And earlier, go ahead was also a phrase, but nowadays it has been eliminated because it was a little bit confusing. So that is why they have deleted it. Negative means no or permission not granted or not capable, or that is not correct. Negative, I say again, if in checking the correctness of the readback an operator notices incorrect items, he shall transmit the words negative, I say again, at the conclusion of the readback, followed by the correct version of the items concerned. Then operations normal. When the operations normal reports are transmitted by the aircraft, they should consist of the prescribed call followed by the words operation normal. Then over and out are actually not used in the VHF, but they are used in RF. So over means my transmission is ended and I expect a response from you, and out means that the transmission exchange has ended and do not expect a response from you. Readback means repeat all or the specified part of the message back to me exactly as received. Recleared, that means a change has been made to your last clearance and this new clearance supersedes your previous clearance as a part thereof. Report means pass me the following information. Request means I should like to know or I wish to obtain. Roger, this means I have received your last transmission, under no circumstances to be used in a reply to a question requiring readback or a direct answer in the affirmative, affirm, or negative. Okay. So Roger is actually confused by a lot of calls. So if you ask normally that what is Roger, that people will be saying that understood. Okay, I have understood your message, but this is the exact meaning of Roger, and you have to remember the meaning of the phrases as it is, because they will ask you in the questions a lot of the options will be very much similar to each other. Okay, understood. These will be given in different options and you'll get confused what does Roger mean. So exact meaning you should know what it is. Just memorize it. Say again item, say again all after, say again all before, say again all between, and. That means repeat all of the following part or your last transmission. Speak slower means reduce your rate of speech. Stand by, wait, and I will call you. The caller would normally re-establish contact if the delay is lengthy. And standby is not an approval or a denial. Don't confuse it with this. Unable. Unable means I cannot comply with your request, instruction, or clearance, to indicate that the request can be complied with or that a request maneuver cannot be executed. Verify. Verify means confirm your originator, and Wilco means I have understood your message and will comply with it. Words twice means Alpha, as a request, communication is difficult, please send every word or group of words twice. And Bravo, as information, since communication is difficult, every word or group of words is in this message will be sent twice. That was all about phrases. We'll be coming to the call signs of aeronautical stations. So this is again an important one. Area control center is known as control, is only said control. Upper lower control area is called upper lower control. Approach control is called approach. Approach control radar or area control radar is called approach radar or control radar. Aerodrome control is called TAR. Surface movement control is called ground. Radar is called radar. Precision approach radar is precision. Direction finding station is Homer. Flight information service is information. Clearance delivery is delivery. Apron control is apron. Company dispatch is dispatch. Aeronautical station is radio. And flow control is flow. Just a second. Yeah. Flow control is flow. And aeronautical station is radio. So what all calls you have to read back and give your acknowledgement. So any ATC safety related parts of the clearances and the instructions you have to read back. And some important terms that you have to read back is QNH, ATC route clearance, clearance and instructions to enter, land, take off, hold short, cross taxi, cross taxi, backtrack, runway in use, altimeter setting, SSR codes, level instructions, heading, speed instructions, etc. If you are not able to understand this, I will give you an example. For example, if you have been given a clearance for startup, or say taking a short one. So if you are said that taxi via Alpha Bravo Charlie and hold short runway 28. Okay, this is the call that has been given. So you have to repeat all this, that taxi via Alpha Bravo Charlie, hold short runway 28, Air India 430, whatever it is, the identification again you have to give at the end. So this was a small portion and it's not even completely a call. I have deleted the initial portions, but just to make you understand that what the ATC will be saying and what are the things and how you have to repeat them. So these are some important things that you have to read back. So you keep that in mind. Transfer of communication. As you know, there are many units in an ATS, air traffic service provider. So there are many units like advisory unit, ATS approach, TAR, whatever we call it. So if you are changing from one unit to another, if you are changing from TAR to approach or approach to control, or either even in you're going from one FIR to the another FIR, then again you have to change. If all of you are not able to understand it, then just keep in mind that India is divided into 5 FIRs: Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, Kolkata and Guwahati. So these are different FIRs and the controls are given to these cities which I just named. So if you are changing from Mumbai FIR to Chennai FIR, for example, then you have to change the frequency, and this will be known as the transfer of the communication. So in first part I have written change of radio frequency, and readability check has to be done. Yeah, so for readability check you will be asking whether how do you read me, right? And in response they'll be saying that yeah, I can read you strength 4. That means you are readable. So 1 to 5, 1 means you are poorly connected, that means not properly readable, and 5 means you're perfectly readable. So 1 is unreadable, 2 is readable now and then, 3 is readable but with difficulty, 4 is readable, and 5th one is the best, perfectly readable. Okay, so make sure that you are having 5 strength. Okay, now moving on to the aircraft identification, right? So aircraft identification, where actually these are um, there may be characters as well as the numbers or a combination of them. So alpha is this characters that I have written. These will be called as Victor Tango Echo Juliet Papa. So they can be called as it is, or during the next call. The first call will be made as it is. Second call you can skip these two and you can say Victor Juliet Papa. So if you are confused as in what I am saying, Victor Tango etc etc, that is not to confuse V, T, E etc. So you don't call it V, T, E, J, P. There are certain phonetics that are there from A to Z. You need to remember that. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, you must have heard it from somewhere. So this is how you speak: Victor Tango Echo Juliet Papa. And in this Bravo, it is Air India TEJP. Don't say TEJP, it is Air India Tango Echo Juliet Papa. So this and the last of this, these are the registration marks. And in the Charlie one, which is 809, this is the flight identification mark. Okay, so this was about the identification. Moving to the radar procedural phraseology. Okay, so in this unit, in this portion, we will be reading about the radar identification of the aircraft. So it is identified by the identification and the registration marks that I have already told you. And the identification should be made before any other further communication and services that they will be receiving. So this is important. And so the aircraft identification has to be given, and as well as the position of the aircraft should also be known. These two things, and then further communication can be taken care of. So there are a lot of things. SSR, radar service. So SSR is a secondary surveillance radar service that you already know. So SSR instructions are the readback instructions, right? And you have to respond to the SSR instructions if you are having an SSR transponder in your aircraft. Radar service is again if self-evident, just a second, where it is not self-evident, that the pilot will normally be informed by the controller when they are under a radar control, advisory, or the information service. Radar vectoring is the positioning of the aircraft, whatever vector it is in. So that is radar vectoring. So basically the radar procedural phraseology is, only few things comes under this, that what are radar services we are using, SSR or normal radar. Radar vectoring is the position bearing or the vector which in which the aircraft is. So certain things are kept in mind if you're talking about the bearings of the aircraft where it is in. So the relative bearing of a conflicting traffic in terms of 12-hour clock is given. If you are flying in a, in one vector normally in your path, then they will be telling you the bearing of the aircraft which is intercepting or conflicting by a 12-hour clock basis. Or if you are in a turn, then its position will, then the conflicting aircraft's position will be given to you with the help of the cardinal points like northwest, south, east, etc etc, right? And then distance also, first was the bearing, second one is the distance from the conflicting traffic, third one is the direction of the flight of the okay, from where it is coming, and the relative speed also. Fine. So these things are kept, and also the level if it is known, right? So these are 4-5 things that the radar will be telling you if you are conflicting with some other flight. So this was the radar procedure. Moving on to relevant weather information. So what are the sources of the aerodrome weather? The ATC, Met Office, and the ATIS and WALMET also, and many others are also there. So these are the main sources of MET information: ATC, Met Office, ATIS, WALMET. Okay, we'll be talking about each one of them. ATC you already know. If not, then you can see the ATC video. Met Office is the meteorological offices. They are all involved in the collection of meteorological data. ATIS is actually it is an automated telecommunication system that will be telling you the informations in a repetitive manner. They are updating it time to time whenever needed, and you can listen to that ATIS information and get some information that is prerequisite, or if not even prerequisite, you can get it from the ATS unit also. But if you listen to the ATIS, you'll already be having the information required. Okay, so METAR is an aviation routine weather report. It is a routine weather report, and you will be getting METAR report every half an hour. SPECI is a special weather report. Trend is expected change in the next 2 hours. TAF is aerodrome forecast. ROFOR is route forecast. SIGMET. What do you mean by SIGMET? By Met Watch Office. This is issued by Met Watch Office. Concerns the expected occurrence of special en route weather phenomena affecting the safety of the aircraft. Okay, and AirMet is same as that of SIGMET, but it is for the aircraft which is flying in the low level. That is AirMet. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, which is the clouds. So clouds are, as you know, they are not in a single level. They can be in different levels. So you are being informed the level of the cloud, at which flight level that cloud is, and what is the quantity of that clouds. So if you might know, or if you don't know also, then you can divide the whole airspace, you can say, into 8 parts, and we call it as octus. And if there are 1 to 2 part of the clouds, then they are, then they are known as few. Scattered are 3 to 4. 5 to 7 are the broken, and overcast is 8 out of 8. That means if you have an overcast, that means the whole sky is covered with clouds. Few means they are very less in number, 1 to 2 part only. 3 to 4 is scattered. 5 to 7 is broken. Dgca. So in this, visibility is greater than 10 kilometer, clear sky, no clouds below 5,000 feet or 1,500 meter, no cumulonimbus clouds, or no other weather which might affect the safety of the aircraft. So that is Dgca. Fine. Moving on to the next part. Next is the runway visual range, which will be telling you the distance up to which the runway is visible. So in the instrument, if it is an instrument runway visual range, we call it as IRVR, and this might be telling you more than one data. It might give you more information, IRVR, and that is RVR. After that, we have the air-ground communication. So the air-ground communication can be over either high frequency or very high frequency or ultra high frequency. So it can be possible in these, as well as there is something called the RCAG, which is remote control air-ground communication. Remote control air-ground communication, RCAG. So this is used when we want to use VHF and UHF over an extended range. So in this case, you'll be using RCAG communication procedure. And again, then there is something called as ADS CPDLC. So ADS CPDLC is automatic dependent surveillance controller pilot data link communication. We'll be seeing about it later in the chapter. Just know that these are ADS CPDLC is available only in 4 stations, that is Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata and Chennai. Right. Talking about ATIS. So ATIS is a continuous repetitive broadcast of information about the weather, and they will be terminal aerodrome related. So one ATIS is might be for Mumbai, another one will be for Delhi. So you can even hear out the ATIS from your phone. They have the phone numbers, you can check it out in the website, Google it and you'll find it. So that is ATIS. And something DATIS is also called DATIS. So that is provided by the prefans data link, and that is all about ATIS. Moving on to another topic, which is voice weather broadcast known as VOLMET. So meteorological aerodrome reports for certain aerodromes are broadcast on specific high frequencies. This call sign is VOLMET. Frequency, operating hours, aerodrome contained within the group, and the contents are published in the AIP, which we have already discussed in some previous videos. You can go and check it out. VOLMET is presently broadcasted by only 2 stations, which is Mumbai and Kolkata. So just the points to remember is it is transmitted in HF frequency and it is done by Mumbai and Kolkata stations. It has some contents. First is aerodrome identification. First thing, surface wind it will be telling, visibility, RVR, weather, clouds, temperature, QNH and trend. Trend might also be there or it might not be there. It depends on the situation and condition. Next, distress and urgency procedures. So, one second. Distress and urgency procedures. So these are normally maintained at some particular frequencies only, so that they may not be disturbed by other frequencies. So they are namely 1 to 1.5 or 243 megahertz. This is the international distress frequency in VHF and UHF range. 2182 kilohertz. This is international distress frequency in the MF range. 500 kilohertz is international maritime distress frequency. Special purpose SSR codes are 7500, which is used for hijack as well as any other what do we call it, unlawful interference, and 7600 for the radio failure, 7700 for emergency. And there is again RLT transmission, which is done in 1 to 1.5, 243 and 406 megahertz. We were talking about the VFR communication procedures till now, but to tell you that IFR also it is all the same procedures are followed and two-way communication procedures are maintained. Wake turbulence. So if your aircraft is heavy or super heavy, then you might wanna add this heavy word and the super keyword along with your aircraft identification in your call sign, so that wake turbulence is a big thing, because if any small aircraft is caught up in your wake turbulence, if you are in a heavy aircraft, then he will go out of control. That is why it's important to tell the wake turbulence category there. Okay, then coming on to the level reporting. So level reporting is done either you can say it's QFE or QNH. Then voice position report. So position report, what all things you have to include? You have to include the aircraft identification, the position where you are at the time when you're reporting, the flight level or altitude, next position and time over which you will be there, and also in significant points. So in the routes, ATS routes from one point to other, say from Delhi to Mumbai, there are a lot of significant points that have been set up by the ICA, say, or DGCA, so that you will, they have a continuous watch over your route, and you can also be provided the proper information or air traffic services on that points. So what you have to do is, whenever you reach at those specific points, though at that points you have to tell the position of that point where you have reached, as well as the time at which you have reached. Now, routine air reports. This includes MET reports on international and national ATS routes. What are these? So, MET report includes the air temperature, wind direction and speed, turbulence, aircraft icing, humidity. And special air reports will be having special information. That means if there is a turbulence, moderate to severe category, then they'll be reporting it. Severe icing, hail, CB cloud is dangerous, they'll be reporting it. And low level wind shear is hazardous for landing and takeoff. That will be reported in special air reports. K contents is call sign, position, time, level, special MET conditions. Then we have VHF propagation. So VHF propagation is VHF is mostly used for propagation. That is why a special focus has been put on it. So we'll be talking about mostly the common things you already might be knowing about: the wavelength. What is wavelength, frequency and amplitude? So we'll skip these three because you might already know it. And polarization is something new maybe, so you have to know what it is. So in an electromagnetic wave, which has two components, what are they? Electrical and magnetic components. So they travel perpendicular to each other, and you know that. So the direction in which the electrical component lies, this is known as the direction of polarization. Okay, and polar diagram is also made. So it gives an aerial characteristic of the transmitter or a receiver. For a transmitter, it's drawn up to a distance where signal strength reduces up to 50% of the transmission. Got it? Also, if you talk about the modulation, then they can be modulated in 4 different types: amplitude modulation, frequency, pulse and phase modulation. Fine. Let's talk about the properties of radio waves. The speed in which a radio wave, electromagnetic wave travel is 3 into 10 raised to the power 8 meter per second. And they get reflected, refracted, diffracted, attenuated during their propagation. And the direction and velocity both change when they are traveling from one medium to other. So they bend towards the denser medium. Okay. So let's talk about the frequencies of different electromagnetic waves. So here is the table of frequency band. So you have to remember mostly the frequency and wavelength also wavelength range also you can give a look. So high frequency range is from 3 to 30 megahertz. You keep this in mind and then you keep adding. For VHF, it will be 30 to 300 megahertz. This is written wrong here. 30 to 300 megahertz. Ultra high frequency will be 300 to 3 gigahertz. From 3 gigahertz to 30 gigahertz, it is SHF, and EHF is 30 to 300 gigahertz. Similarly, if you go above high frequency, you will be finding that it is from 3 kilohertz to 3 megahertz. It is medium frequency. 30 to 300 kilohertz is low frequency, and 3 to 30 kilohertz is very low frequency. Radio waves propagate by two methods: ground waves or the sky waves. So the ground waves, a wave received either directly from the transmitter or after reflection from the ground is a ground wave, and the sky wave, as the name suggests, a wave received at the receiver after getting refracted from the atmosphere. So that is a sky wave. Keep in mind that VLF and LF are more of a ground waves, MF and HF are the sky waves, and VHF, UHF, SHF is the line of sight wave. This means that if there is any obstacle that comes between receiver and transmitter, then the VHF, UHF and SHF band, they will not be able to transmit their signals. That means the obstacle can be like a big hill or something, some like building, very long building, etc. So they can cause attenuation, well, they can even block the signal, right? So that is about the line of sight signals. Transmission power, the range is directly proportional to square root of transmission power. LOS or range, this is 1.25 of under root of height of transmitter plus under root of height of the receiver. Remember these two formula, it's important. Now one more thing that I have to discuss is frequency band of certain system. So you have to remember some of them which I have ticked, others you don't need to remember that. ADF is important, it is in LF and MF band. ILS markers and localizers both work in the VHF band, also remember these frequencies. VOR is working in the VHF frequency. ILS glide path, this is different from localizer and markers. So ILS glide path, it works in UHF frequencies. DME, SSR and GPS also works in the UHF frequency. Few more. Radio altimeter, SHF, weather radar, MLS and ATC surveillance. So no, except ATC surveillance radars, all these three work in SHF, and ATC surveillance radar works in UHF frequency. The end portion, CPDLC and ADS is left. CPDLC is, as I told you, it is controller pilot data link communication. For non-urgent strategic messages, this is also displayed in flight deck visual display, and this is done in the VHF frequency band, CPDLC. ADS is automatic dependent surveillance, and this is will be telling you the aircraft position, meteorology information, intended information, anything. And VHF or satellite communication is used here, and this is reported by FMS. FMS is aircraft flight management system. Okay, ADS and CPDLC are integrated with the Flight Data Processing System, FDPS, at Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata. So they are done in only these 4 stations, available through the FANS 1A data link. And if an aircraft wants this facility, then they have to log in 10 minutes prior to entering the FIR, which will be providing you this information with the CPDLC or ADS. Okay, that's it. So this was the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.